robin builds her nest from the mud and the snow, with a breast red as morning and a song soft and clear. She sings to her young ones, I'm right here, I'm right here. Little wings of wonder, little hearts yet to fly. Mother birds are watching underneath the white sky. Every feather she gives you was laid down with love. You are held, little one, by the warmth from above.
Imagine this, right? It's a really crisp morning in mid-April. You step out onto your back porch, you've got a cup of coffee in hand, and you reach down to grab those rubber gardening boots you left out a few days ago.
Oh, I know exactly where this is going.
Yeah, so as your hand gets close, suddenly this tiny feathered blur just shoots out of the right boot, and it's loudly scolding you on its way past.
Just yelling at you.
Exactly. So you peek inside the boot, and tucked right into the toe of your shoe is a meticulously constructed bird's nest.
It's a classic spring surprise.
Right. And your initial thought might be, oh, what a whimsical accident. Like, this poor confused bird just took a wrong turn into my shoe.
But it's not an accident at all.
Not even a little bit. And that's what we're doing today. I'm your host, and alongside our resident expert, we are doing a deep dive into the source material on this exact phenomenon.
Yeah, we're looking at a highly calculated strategic real estate acquisition by the Carolina Wren, or Thurothoris ludovicianus if you want to get technical.
I do not want to get technical, but thank you.
Fair enough. But I mean, our mission today is to unpack a whole stack of field notes and behavioral studies to figure out how this specific backyard bird uses extreme adaptability to just completely dominate our suburban landscapes.
And their co-parenting strategy. Because look, if you have ever stared down a massive, overwhelming task at work, or, just at home, something that requires flawless logistical execution just to survive the week.
Oh, you are going to relate to this bird.
Deeply relatable. It's downright inspiring. But to really understand their bizarre behavior, I feel like we have to understand the physical bird first.
Absolutely, because we are talking about an animal that is remarkably small.
Like tiny.
Yeah, they are roughly 4.5 to 5.5 inches long, and they weigh somewhere between 18 and 23 grams.
Which, to put that into perspective for you listening, that is the weight of about 4 nickels.
Barely a handful of pocket change. That is the entire bird.
And visually, their plumage is designed for absolute stealth.
It really is. They are covered in this rich, earthy, rufous brown, like a reddish rust color.
With that really sharp, bold white eyebrow stripe.
Right, the eyebrow is iconic, and that specific coloration allows them to visually just vanish the moment they drop into dead leaves or undergrowth.
Now, what I found interesting in the reading is that, unlike a lot of other songbirds, where the male is brightly colored and the female is all muted and camouflaged.
Male and female Carolina Wrens look almost completely identical.
Right, so you would naturally assume that a tiny, perfectly camouflaged bird weighing 4 nickels wants to remain completely unnoticed, right?
You would think so, but acoustically, they do the exact opposite.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I read this, and it's like someone dressing head to toe in military camouflage, painting their face, hiding deep in a bush, and then just screaming through a bullhorn.
That is the perfect analogy. The contrast between their visual stealth and their acoustic footprint is just jarring.
It's so loud.
Oh, incredibly loud. The male's song, that ringing, tea kettle, tea kettle, tea kettle, or cheerio, 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 it's actually one of the loudest sounds in North America when you adjust for the bird's body mass.
Wait, really? One of the loudest?
Adjusting for size? Yeah. The physics of it are incredible. That sound can carry up to half a mile.
Half a mile. From a bird the size of some loose change.
Exactly. And he isn't just singing in the spring to find a mate either. He has a repertoire of up to 40 different song types, and he sings year-round.
Year-round?
Yeah, he will sit on an exposed branch in the middle of a literal February snowstorm and just blast this song into the freezing air.
Okay, so I want to look at the evolutionary why behind that bullhorn, because singing loudly takes energy, and doing it in a snowstorm seems incredibly risky if you weigh as much as 4 nickels.
It's a huge risk, But the research points to their unique social structure as the reason. The Carolina Wren forms permanent, year-round pair bonds.
It's pretty rare, right?
It is a critical distinction because most songbirds operate on a temporary timeline. They hook up for the spring breeding season, they raise a brood, and then they basically go their separate ways to survive the winter alone.
Sort of a see-you-never situation.
Right. But Carolina Wrens, they function as a unified team all year long. They forage together, they roost together to share body heat during the winter, and most importantly, they fiercely defend their territory together.
So when that male is out there singing in a snowstorm, he isn't looking for a mate at all.
No, he's broadcasting the borders of their joint property to any rival wrens, basically saying, "We are still here."
And the female is actively participating in that defense too, even if she isn't singing the loud tea kettle song. The sources note she has this rapid, rattling chatter.
Yes, the chant.
She uses it to scold predators, maintain constant communication with her mate as they hunt through the brush, and assert dominance over their turf.
They are constantly maintaining this acoustic tether to one another.
An acoustic tether. I like that.
And that permanent, highly communicative partnership, that is the foundation for everything they do. Because they hold this territory together through the brutal winter, they are uniquely positioned when spring arrives.
Right. They don't have to waste time going on dates.
Exactly. They don't have to find a mate or establish new borders. They just immediately transition into the next logistical hurdle, which is finding a secure location to raise the next generation.
Which brings us back to the gardening boot on the back porch.
The opportunism is wild.
The sheer opportunism of their architecture. I mean, the field notes list nesting locations that read like a chaotic inventory of human domesticity.
Oh, it really does.
We're talking about coat pockets hanging in open garages, hanging flower baskets, coffee cans on workshop shelves,
The engine compartments of infrequently driven tractors.
coiled garden hoses,
Yeah.
mailboxes. And one researcher even documented a nest inside the hollow skull of a deer mount.
Inside a skull.
Yeah, inside a deer skull. It sounds completely random, almost comical.
It does sound like they just plop down wherever, but if we look closely at the mechanics of those choices, a strict set of criteria emerges.
Okay, what are they looking for?
Well, they aren't just looking for a quirky spot. They require a highly specific structural environment, namely an enclosed cavity with a narrow entrance.
Contrast that with something like, say, an American robin. Because a robin builds an open cup nest, right?
No.
Just sitting perfectly exposed on a tree branch.
Right, and an open cup nest is incredibly vulnerable. A robin relies on height and foliage for protection, but eggs and chicks in an open nest are still entirely exposed to weather and aerial predators, like crows or blue jays.
Just sitting ducks. Or sitting robins, I guess.
Basically, the Carolina Wren's absolute requirement for a cavity, a space with solid walls on most sides and a tiny defensible door, it's a structural defense mechanism.
So whether that cavity is a hollowed-out tree stump in the forest or a rubber boot in a suburban garage, the imperative is identical.
Yes, find a fortress, control the single point of entry, and stay hidden.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the division of labor? Because I want to challenge what happens during the construction of this fortress.
Okay, let's get into it.
The research presents a dynamic that seems, frankly, inherently unequal at first glance.
How so?
Well, the female is responsible for building the actual nest. She gathers moss and leaves to create this bulky foundation, and then she constructs a deep, tightly woven cup made of rootlets, animal hair, feathers, and frequently shed snakeskin.
Right, she is doing the meticulous insulation work.
Exactly. Her material choices are highly specific for insulation, trapping microscopic pockets of dead air to retain heat.
It's a very high-end construction.
Meanwhile, the male is building what ornithologists call dummy nests or cock nests.
The dummy nests, yes.
He frantically carries random materials to various cavities throughout their territory, building messy, incomplete structures that lack any of the careful interior finishing.
And they are never used for eggs.
Never used. So, in nature, wasting calories is usually a death sentence. Why is the male burning precious metabolic energy building fake nests instead of helping the female insulate the real one? I mean, is this just a performance of helpfulness, like a guy pretending to clean the kitchen?
It looks like an enormous waste of calories, right? But what's fascinating here is that those dummy nests serve a multi-layered vital purpose.
Okay, defend the male wren for me.
First, they act as territorial advertising. A landscape littered with partially built nests signals to rival wrens that a highly active, dominant male controls the area.
Okay, so that's a flex.
Exactly. Second, it creates a very effective predator confusion strategy. If a raccoon or a rat snake sniffs out a cavity and finds a dummy nest, they often assume the territory is a bust and move on.
So they completely miss the real camouflaged nest nearby.
Right. It's a decoy system.
Okay, that makes the caloric expenditure much more justifiable.
It's an insurance policy. And finally, it functions as site prospecting. The male is essentially acting as an advanced scout, identifying potential real estate and offering the female a portfolio of options.
Oh, so he's the real estate agent.
Pretty much. He sets up the rough framing, but she retains the ultimate decision-making power. She inspects his sites, evaluates them for safety, dryness, and predator access, and she makes the final call.
So if she selects one, she takes over and executes the vital finishing work.
Yes. He manages the perimeter and the decoys. She perfects the microenvironment.
That makes a lot of sense. And honestly, once she lays those eggs, his role shifts dramatically anyway.
Oh, completely.
The dynamic turns into a high-stakes supply chain that is honestly incredible to visualize. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Because he transitions from a scout into a critical lifeline.
Right. She typically lays 4 to 6 speckled eggs, and she incubates them entirely alone for 12 to 16 days.
Which is a long time to sit still.
Now, think about a hummingbird or a robin. The mother has to constantly leave her eggs to go find food, which allows the eggs to cool down, and then she has to rush back to warm them up again.
It's extremely inefficient.
But the Carolina Wren operates entirely differently. It's basically an incubation drive-through. The male becomes a relentless supply line. He hunts down high-protein insects, spiders, and caterpillars and delivers them directly to her beak while she remains on the eggs.
So she rarely has to move.
Right. Her body mass stays healthy, and the temperature of those eggs remains perfectly continuously stable.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this highlights why that enclosed cavity design is so crucial. The walls of the boot, or the mailbox, combined with the moss and hair she gathered, provide passive temperature buffering.
It traps the heat.
Exactly. The cavity traps the body heat she is generating. It creates a microclimate that drastically reduces the energy drain of incubation. The core philosophy of the Wren parents is absolute control over their environment.
Absolutely nothing is left to chance.
Right. They mitigate every possible variable because the moment those eggs hatch, the energy demands skyrocket.
Yeah, let's talk about the chicks, because they hatch altricial.
Yes, altricial,
Yeah.
which is a biological term meaning they're completely naked, blind, and totally helpless. They weigh about 2 grams each.
2 grams. Wow. And this is a major evolutionary divergence from precocial birds, like ducks or chickens, right?
Yeah.
Where the babies hatch fully feathered and just hit the ground running.
It's a biological trade-off. Precocial birds spend much longer developing inside the egg so they can be mobile immediately. Altricial birds, like the wren, trade a shorter incubation time for a period of extreme vulnerability post-hatch.
So the chicks are basically just little digestive systems with gaping yellow mouths.
Designed to convert incoming protein into rapid, explosive physical growth.
And those gaping mouths trigger a frantic feeding response in both parents. They launch into this high-speed endurance relay. The field studies document the parents making up to 30 combined visits to the nest per hour.
30 visits an hour. Just let that sink in.
If you do the math on a brood of 5 chicks, that means every single baby is receiving a grasshopper, a spider, or a caterpillar every 10 to 12 minutes, continuously, all day long.
The metabolic output required from the parents to sustain that pace is staggering, especially since Carolina wrens don't eat seeds or nectar. They are dedicated insectivores.
So they have to find bugs.
Yes, and extracting 30 insects an hour from a single suburban yard requires an encyclopedic knowledge of the local microhabitats.
Which circles back to the importance of their year-round pair bond, doesn't it?
Exactly. They know the topography of your yard intimately. They know exactly which dead log holds beetles and which specific brush pile harbors spiders because they've been patrolling it together all winter.
But, okay, there's an inescapable biological consequence to feeding 5 chicks 30 insects an hour.
Oh yeah, what goes in must come out.
Managing the waste of that many chicks inside a tiny, unventilated rubber boot is a massive
A
problem.
literal mess.
This is where the sanitation protocols kick in. Both parents are observed constantly carrying waste away from the nest.
And they aren't just dealing with loose mess. Songbird nestlings have this brilliant evolutionary adaptation. They excrete their waste enclosed in a durable mucous membrane.
Wait, a mucous membrane?
Yeah, it's known as a fecal sac.
So it functions like a biological, disposable diaper.
Precisely. The parents wait for the chick to produce this sac, grab it in their beaks, and fly it far away from the nest before dropping it.
That's incredible, because in an open cup nest, some waste might just fall over the edge to the ground.
Right, gravity helps out. But in a cavity nest, if they don't manually remove every single fecal sac, the environment will quickly become lethal. The cavity will rot, it will breed deadly parasites, and it will emit a strong odor.
An odor is a beacon. A raccoon, an opossum, or a rat snake relies heavily on scent to locate a nest hidden in a dark cavity.
So this intense sanitation routine isn't about mere cleanliness. It is an active, ongoing predator defense mechanism.
They sprint at this pace, hunting, feeding, and hauling away biological diapers for 12 to 14 days until chicks finally fledge and leave the booth.
But the parental investment doesn't end there, which is wild.
Not at all. Because when many bird species fledge, the young scatter, right, but Carolina Wren chicks stick together in a loose, cohesive family group.
And the parents launch into a highly specialized homeschooling phase for the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Homeschooling for birds, I love that.
It's necessary. Catching a slow-moving caterpillar exposed on a leaf is one thing. But because these wrens are dedicated insectivores that don't migrate, they have to survive the barren winter.
So the parents have to teach the fledglings complex, hidden foraging techniques.
The sources described the parents teaching them how to, glean tiny spiders out of deep bark crevices, or how to identify a dead leaf that has been rolled up by a specific insect and physically extract the larva hiding inside.
It is a masterclass in specialized hunting.
Truly.
But while this homeschooling is happening, the logistics of the pair achieve a level of overlapping efficiency that is almost hard to comprehend.
This is where their productivity peaks, particularly in the southern parts of their range where the warm season is longer.
In a productive year, while the male is still actively supervising, defending, and feeding those newly fledged teenagers in the brush,
the female will quietly slip away.
she finds a completely new cavity and starts building the foundation for a second or even third brood.
She is incubating the next generation while he is finishing the education of the first.
That overlapping timeline, managing two entirely different developmental stages simultaneously, is a masterpiece of biological logistics.
It's exhausting just talking about it.
And is deeply necessary for the survival of the species as a whole, because the Carolina Wren lives on a very dangerous edge.
This raises an important point.
The research notes that their population range has been steadily expanding northward, and this is partly due to generally milder winters, sure.
But the data strongly suggests they're also riding the wave of human development.
Right. Our suburban landscapes, our ornamental thickets, our forgotten brush piles, our backyard suet feeders.
Yeah.
They provide the exact infrastructure they need, which forces you to wonder, is this bird essentially domesticating itself, adapting its entire life cycle around our suburban clutter?
Well, it's an opportunistic exploitation rather than true domestication.
Wow.
We alter the landscape, and they aggressively capitalize on the new microhabitats we accidentally create.
Okay, so they're just taking advantage of us.
Absolutely, because a chickadee, for example, survives the winter by caching seeds, hiding thousands of bits of food to eat later.
Oh, right.
But Carolina wrens do not cache food, and they do not store significant body fat. They are entirely dependent on daily foraging to maintain their body temperature.
So if a severe winter storm hits, dumping a foot of snow that buries the leaf litter and freezes the bark crevices, their daily food supply vanishes instantly.
And their local populations can experience catastrophic crashes.
Yeah.
Whole regional populations can be decimated by a single harsh week.
That's terrifying.
Because they face this constant looming threat of winter mortality, their only defense is rapid, prolific reproduction.
They literally have to outbreed the winter kill.
That is the evolutionary driver behind the overlapping broods, the 30 feeding visits an hour, and the permanent pair bonds. 2 or 3 broods of up to 6 chicks a season is their population insurance policy.
And our messy yards, full of tangled hedges and discarded objects, serve as the vital engines for that reproduction.
Exactly.
So to you listening today, step outside and look at your own space differently. Look at that tangled brush pile in the corner of the fence, the coil of hose you haven't moved since last fall, or that gardening boot sitting on the porch.
Don't look at it as clutter.
Recognize it for what it actually is to this species: prime, defensible real estate.
It is the infrastructure of their survival.
We've broken down how this incredibly loud, tiny bird is a masterclass in strategic adaptability. Through an impossibly tight year-round partnership, they engineer our junk into fortresses.
It's amazing.
The sheer physical endurance required to maintain that supply line coupled with the complex communication of their overlapping broods, is phenomenal.
So take a moment to just listen when you are out there. Listen for that rapid scolding chatter of the female in the bushes, or the deafening tea kettle song of the male asserting his borders.
If you hear it, you know an elite logistical team is operating right under your nose.
Right in your backyard.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, unresolved mystery drawn directly from the field notes.
Oh, this is the best part.
We touched on the female's meticulous nest construction earlier, specifically her deliberate collection of shed snakeskin to line the interior cup.
Yes, the snakeskin.
The researchers note this behavior appears with such high frequency that it cannot be an accident. She is actively hunting for it.
Now consider the ecosystem for a second. The rat snake is arguably the most lethal predator, a low-nesting, cavity-dwelling bird like the wren faces.
It is their ultimate threat.
The worst of the worst for them.
So why are these tiny birds intentionally seeking out the discarded scales of their deadliest predator to wrap around their most vulnerable blind chicks?
It's wild.
What kind of psychological or chemical warfare is happening here? Does the lingering scent of a rat snake on those shed scales actually repel other, smaller predators like mice or chipmunks who approach the cavity, smell the snake, and flee in terror?
It is a brilliant, slightly morbid interior design choice.
Just imagine what that single boot on your porch looks like by the end of August. Because she doesn't clean out the first nest. If she has a second brood in the same spot, she builds directly on top of it.
It just keeps growing.
That shoe becomes a towering, multi-generational high-rise of twigs, moss, insulated dead air pockets, and the ghostly, translucent scales of a deadly predator. All of it engineered perfectly in the toe of a boot you forgot to put in the closet.
It really makes you think.
Keep that in mind the next time you reach for your gardening gear.